Man, that wasn't even a fight. That was a straight up domination from bell to bell. Like, we're talking about 25 minutes of one dude just doing whatever you wanted. Khamzat came out here, body lock, takedown, crucifix, rinse and repeat. And Dricus, he literally had zero answers to it. I don't care what anybody says, this wasn't even close. 529 strikes to 45. 21 minutes of control time. That's not just winning a title fight. That's bullying someone on ESPN, okay? Like, imagine training for months, a whole country behind you, and you just get crucified for like 20 minutes straight. That's freaking tough, dude. And people were trying to hype it up like, oh, Dricus is so strong. He's awkward. He always finds a way to win. No, I've been saying this from the beginning. Awkward doesn't save you when you're getting your arm pinned and eating hammer fists for 4 rounds straight. He just looked lost, bro. He looked like a white belt in there. And you know what really gets me? I was one of those people thinking Khamzat might slow down if it went late. I figured if Dricus could survive the early storm, maybe he could take over. But nah, it was the complete opposite. Khamzat went all 5 rounds, still snapping takedowns in the fourth, still heavy on top in the fifth. Meanwhile, Dricus was the one breathing hard, forcing a smile, trying to play it off like he wasn't cooked, okay? And in general, I don't ever want to hear anybody say that Khamzat has bad cardio again. Nah, that whole narrative, it's dead. He just went 5 rounds, championship pace, 21 minutes of control time, and somehow he looked fresher than Dricus by the end. That blew my mind. Because think about it. He wasn't just coasting. He was wrestling heavy for almost the entire fight. That drains people. Most guys gas after 2 rounds of that kind of pressure. But Khamzat, he was still snapping takedowns in the fourth, still chaining positions, still heavy on top. Meanwhile, Dricus was the one that was huffing, puffing, and smiling through like he wasn't cooked. People built this myth off the Burns fight, off the Usman fight. Like, oh, you drag Khamzat into deep waters, he's gonna fade. Nope. We just saw him dominate for 25 minutes. The dude could have went for a 6th round if they let him. And the way he did it was smart too. Pacing himself, mixing in those little strikes, knees to the legs, staying heavy on the hips. He wasn't rushing for a finish and blowing his gas tank. He was just smothering him. That's championship composure, okay? So, yeah, cardio isn't a hole anymore. If this is what he looks like in a deep fight, I don't know who at middleweight can deal with that kind of pressure for 5 rounds. And I gotta talk about the ref situation because it low-key pissed me off. Mark Goddard, what was that, man? Dude's in the crucifix, landing shots, advancing position, and you're yelling at them to do more and threatening them to stand up. That is doing more. Get somebody in a crucifix is like the final boss of top control. You don't just hand that back. And honestly, that's the only reason Dricus even had a moment, okay? Every time he was about to get drowned, Goddard stepped in like, okay guys, let's keep it moving. Nah, let them fight. You're not supposed to belt a guy out just because he's stuck. That's his job to escape. That's his job to escape, not the ref's job to give him a reset. And you saw what happened after those stand-ups. Dricus finally got to throw something and finally got his little 10 seconds of offense in round 5. Without Goddard giving him those lifelines, this could have been easy a 50-42. Now, don't get it twisted, Khamzat still dominated, still mauled him for 25 minutes, still put up a historic control time, but man, the ref took away the possibility of a finish. Because if you let a guy like that keep chaining positions, he's eventually going to find the choke. He eventually is going to rain down heavier shots. We didn't get that chance because Goddard was micromanaging the fight. With all that being said, though, let's actually talk about the fight itself. I want to break it down a bit. So in round 1, from the opening bell, Khamzat set the tone. He didn't even give Dricus the chance to get comfortable on the feet. The shot straight in, blasted a clean double leg, and dragged him down like it was nothing. That takedown looked way too easy against a guy who was supposed to be awkward and strong and hard to control. Once they hit the mat, it was all Khamzat. He slid right into side control, worked his way into crucifix, and just smothered him. He wasn't throwing fight any bombs, but he didn't have to. He kept Dricus pinned, landed those short shots that are annoying shots that rack up points, and keep the ref from stepping in. Now, as for the second round, it was the same exact movie. Khamzat shot, secured the takedown with no problem, and this time, you really started noticing the difference in the pacing. He wasn't just trying to overwhelm Dricus with chaos, he was making him carry his weight. Heavy hips, pressure on the chest, mixing in those knees to the thighs, little details that chip away at your explosiveness. People always talk about how strong Dricus is, and when a guy like Khamzat keeps his weight on you like that, that strength starts to fade fast. And that's the craziest part, okay? The narrative was always Khamzat will gas if it goes too long. But halfway through into the fight, it was Dricus who was breathing heavier. Khamzat looked like he was in second gear, just calmly controlling, the fight. He didn't even need to burn energy chasing submissions, just holding position, touching him up, making him work. By the end of the round, you could see the difference in the body language. Khamzat looked locked in. Dricus looked like a guy realizing all his plan Bs weren't going to work. Another round where another case could be a 10-8. The third round is where the gap really became obvious. Dricus had nothing left in the wrestling department. Every entry from Khamzat got him to the ground without resistance. Once again, Crucifix City. That's the thing though, Crucifix isn't just a position you lock into. It takes pressure, timing, and technique to pin a man like that. And Khamzat made it look effortless every single time. Once he had it, the round was pretty much over. Short hammer fist, elbow sneaking in, just enough to keep the ref from stepping in, but plenty to score and suffocate. And at this point, the fight started to feel less like a contest and more like a lesson, dude. Dricus wasn't scrambling, he wasn't exploding, he was just getting trapped. You could see the frustration in his face, even glancing at his corner as if to say, what do I do? Meanwhile, Khamzat just looks comfortable, not overexerting, not desperate, just like very methodical, man. Another round where Dricus couldn't even string together 10 seconds of meaningful offense, okay? Pure domination. Fourth round, and the story didn't even change, dude. Khamzat shot, got him down, and smothered once again. By now, the commentary and the crowd were restless, okay? Not because it wasn't effective, but because it was so one-sided. The only real drama this round was freaking Mark Goddard consistently telling Khamzat to advance position. Like, advance where? He's crucifixed. He had side control. He was landing strikes. That's as dominant as it gets. If anything, the ref micromanaging is what gave Dricus his only glimpse of offense in that fight. It felt like every time Khamzat was about to drown him deeper, the ref came in with a life jacket, stand-up warning, all these little resets. And yeah, Khamzat still dominated the round, but those interruptions robbed us from possibly seeing a finish. Still, even with the ref stepping in, Dricus couldn't capitalize. He landed a couple punches here and there, but within seconds, he was back on the mat. By the end of the round, it was clear that this was a shutout. When round 5 came around, and you could tell Dricus knew he was down bad, he came out throwing, trying to make something happen, but it didn't last long. Khamzat did what he did like all night. He changed levels, got in deep, and put him on his back yet again. Straight to side control, looking for that crucifix, just suffocating pressure. This was the only round where Dricus had little moments. Late in that round, he managed to scramble, get on top for a second, and even looked like he was about to set something up. But it was gone just as fast as it started. Khamzat shut it down, reversed him, and went right back to smothering from the top. The bell rings and it's Khamzat still on top control, still in control. The stats tell the same story. 21 minutes of control times, 12 takedowns, over 500 strikes landed compared to 45 for Dricus. By the end, Khamzat still looked composed while Dricus was exhausted and forced a smile to hide it. 5 rounds and not once did it feel like the fight was slipping away from Khamzat. And for Khamzat, this wasn't just another win. This was the night he took the belt off Dricus and shut a lot of people up. All the talk about him not having cardio, not being able to go 5 rounds, or not being able to deal with someone awkward and strong like Dricus. That's all dead now. He went out there and proved it for 25 minutes straight. He didn't just hold on either. He dominated from start to finish and still looked fresh by the end. And that's scary. It changes the whole conversation around him. It's not, oh, will Khamzat fade if it goes long anymore. It's who in the division can even survive that pace without getting drowned. Because let me tell you something, brother. The matchmakers are in a weird spot now because it feels like there's no clear opponent who can test them. People will bring up a Mavov, Brohalo, or even someone like Fluffy Hernandez. But after watching this, do you really believe those guys can stop that pressure for 5 rounds? It just doesn't seem realistic. What we saw is that unless you have elite defense wrestling, endless cardio, and the strength to match him, you're probably going to end up in the same spots as Dricus, stuck under him, eating shots, and hoping the ref bails you out. Now, as for Dricus, it's tough because he still looked good. You know, he's a great fighter, but this fight exposed exactly where his ceiling might be. He can beat strikers, he can beat guys who let him use his pace and awkward style, but against a smothering wrestler, he has no answers. That doesn't mean he's finished. He's still dangerous against almost anyone who wants to stand and trade, but he's going to have to regroup and figure out how to patch those holes. A fight with someone like RDR or maybe even a fellow striker makes sense. Just don't throw him in there with another top tier grappler like Anthony Hernandez, or we're probably going to see the same story play out again. And I'll be real with you guys, if Khamzat actually stays active like he says, this division is in trouble, because this version of him that we just saw, that's a nightmare. His grappling is already world class, but now we know his cardio isn't even a question anymore. His own coach even said straight up, Khamzat's not the same fighter from a year ago or two. He's been rebuilding his conditioning, training smarter, recovering better, and you saw that in that fight. He just didn't just survive 5 rounds. He dominated. 21 minutes of control time, 529 strikes, and by the 5th round, he looked fresher than Dricus. That kills the whole Khamzat gasses out after round 1 narrative, okay? How many times do I have to repeat this? Now, with all that being said, I want to flip the side for a second, and I want to talk about Dricus. We really have to ask this question. Did he just get exposed? And honestly, yeah, at least when it comes to the grappling. Look, we all knew he wasn't some elite defensive wrestler. We saw the Brunson fight. We saw Brunson take him down. We saw him struggle against pressure before. But the excuse was always, oh, he'll find a way. He's awkward. He'll scramble weird. He's strong. That was just hype. But against Khamzat, none of that even mattered. He couldn't even scramble. He couldn't buck him off. He couldn't even get back to his feet cleanly, okay? Every time he tried, Khamzat just chained into another position and put him right back on the mat. The craziest part is that Dricus actually has good jiu-jitsu defense. He wasn't getting instantly subbed. He was defending chokes, staying calm, crossing legs, trying to breathe. But here's the thing, defending isn't winning. He wasn't threatening anything. He wasn't creating space. He wasn't making Khamzat work harder. He just accepted the bottom, smiled through the rounds, and hopes to survive. That's not championship level. That's not championship level defense grappling, okay? So yeah, he got exposed in the sense that whole strength plus awkwardness style only works with the other guy that isn't an A-tier grappler. Against someone like Khamzat, those awkward angles don't mean anything. If you're stuck in crucifix, eating hammer fists, and that's the reality at middleweight. If you can't stop a takedown or at least get back up consistently, you're not beating these elites, okay? So to tie all this together, the fight just told us 2 things loud and clear. 1, Khamzat isn't just hype, he is the real thing, and his grappling has been scary from the jump. But now we know he can carry it for all 5 rounds without slowing down. That's a nightmare blueprint for anyone at the middleweight division. If he really stays active like he says, I don't see many dudes lining up happy to deal with that pressure. And 2, Dricus has hit a ceiling when it comes to his defensive grappling. That awkward final wave style, that works against guys who weren't top wrestlers. That doesn't cut it against someone who changed positions and has heavy hips like Khamzat. He wasn't terrible. He survived, defended subs, stayed tough, but surviving isn't winning, okay? He looked levels behind. And at the end of the day, this wasn't some back and forth war. It was a 25 minutes of domination of one guy proving that he's ready to run the division and another guy realizing there's levels to this. Khamzat came out here looking scarier than ever. Dricus came out looking human. And that's the story, dude.